Okay, so here we go. We are going through Kurt Cobain's birth chart as promised. I shared on my Instagram if you, who wanted to see his chart and in what way you wanted the information to come through, video versus writing. So here we are. I am sharing his birth chart and I'm going to go through it a little bit and talk about, what was going on in his chart, the energy that he could have been feeling. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to share some of the water energy that he had going on. So he was his sun sign was in Pisces at 1 degree. So you can, and you can look at this in your chart too. So this is astro.com and you can look at this chart over here and that shows exactly the degree that everything was at and it shows the glyph for each planet, the sign that it was in and the degree that it was at within that sign. So his sun is at 1 degree of Pisces. He also had Mercury in Pisces, also had Venus in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces. And his Saturn is conjunct his Venus, which we'll talk about. So Venus, the planet of relationship, love, beauty, harmony, how you show up in relationships, was conjunct Saturn. Saturn is a little bit of a heavier energy. It can feel oppressive. It can feel restricted. It can feel like you're not ever, with it conjunct Venus, it can feel like you're not receiving the type of love that you would like. It can feel like maybe nothing you do is good enough. It can bring a lot of hardships and lessons via relationships. It's right there sitting on his descendant, which also represents relationships. And all of this is opposing his Pluto and Uranus. So I just want to go through all the astrology words so you can, if you want to look it up or if you want to dive deeper into it on your own, just so I can share the astrology words and then I will put it into English that is, something that everybody can understand, even if you don't understand astrology at all. So on his ascendant, he has Pluto and Uranus. His ascendant, his rising sign, this is the sign that was on the horizon at the time of your birth. And for him, it's in the sign of Virgo. And Uranus is exactly conjunct his ascendant. So you can see his ascendant at 23 degrees, and then Uranus is at 23 degrees as well. So literally sitting right on his ascendant. And then Pluto is just a few degrees away as well. Pluto is at 19 degrees. So I would say that he has Pluto and Uranus conjunct his ascendant, which is a fucking lot. Yeah, I have Pluto on my ascendant, and so I understand that energy. I don't have Uranus on my ascendant, but just looking at his chart and seeing how much water is in his chart, like if you have strong water within your personal chart, you can probably feel into a little bit about like what his experience in the world could have been like. He also has his moon in Cancer. His moon, you can see it up here, and Jupiter in Cancer. So his moon is at 13 degrees of Cancer and Jupiter's at 25 degrees of Cancer. And yeah, okay. So many things. Uranus and Pluto are also retrograde. Jupiter's retrograde in his chart. Yeah, that's a very like karmic signature with Pluto and Uranus both being retrograde sitting right on his ascendant. And to look at this chart over here, well, let me share the last two things that are in water. So most of his planets are in water. The only planets that are not in water are Pluto and Uranus that are sitting right on his ascendant, and it's in the 12th house, which the 12th house is a water house. It's associated with the Pisces energy. So damn near his whole fucking chart was in water, like so much water, so much emotions. And I think we can see that through his work, through, the album cover of the baby in the water, like so many references to, and he'll even make references about being a Pisces and feeling things. If you've read his suicide note, he refers to being a Pisces and just being so sensitive and feeling the energy around him so intensely and not knowing what to do with that. I'm going to have goosebumps throughout this whole thing, I think. So, okay, I want to share this part of the chart over here. This, and you can look at this on your chart as well. So this is the breakdown of the elements, and then it's, if you look at it this way, fire, this is how many planets he has in fire, no planets in fire. This is how many he has in air, no planets in air. In earth, he has 2 planets in earth, Uranus and Pluto, again sitting on his ascendant, which is in the 12th house of water, and then all of these planets in water. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 10 planets that we're working with are in water. So yeah, again, damn near his whole chart in water. And so let's speak to the Pisces energy, because we are in Pisces season, and he does have his Mercury in Pisces as well, Venus, Saturn, all in Pisces. So he's got a ton of Piscean energy. And, you know, I don't know exactly what he was feeling. I can only make assumptions, or, you know, based on seeing his chart and listening to his music, and me just, yeah, doing the work that I do, and having a lot of water within me personally in my chart. I understand what that can feel like to a certain degree. So having so much energy in Pisces, it is the artist, it is the musician, it could be a poet, it could be, you know, they can create in so many different ways, but it's like putting like the formless, trying to give it form. Pisces is very much like the otherworldly energy. Pisces, you know, if people have some type of addiction within their lives, or they've, you know, gone through drug and alcohol abuse or substance abuse or some type a form of escapism, they generally have strong Pisces energy within their chart. Maybe they have a lot in the sign of Pisces. Maybe Neptune is making, you know, different aspects within their chart. Maybe their 12th house is heavily aspected, but you can see those signatures within a chart. People that are prone to escapism, to addictions, and we can see that with him having so much water energy and so much Pisces energy. And it's in a conversation with the Virgo energy. It's going back and forth from like, you know, his Virgo rising, that can be the perfectionist, that can want things to look a certain way, maybe being very like anal, or wanting like things to be organized or clean or structure, or like trying to find order in the world. But then it's like a dichotomy, because Uranus is the planet that there is no order with Uranus. So it's like trying to find a balance between his soul wanting things, you know, maybe to go a certain way, or there to be a certain amount of order, structure, or organization. But then it's coupled with the planet of like chaos and madness almost. You know, Uranus is very unexpected. It's electrical energy. And we can see this with, you know, how he would play music, like the guitar, the instruments, just like I don't know the musical terms, but you know, I don't know what those terms are, where it's just like static, or just like crazy sounds on the guitar. And he probably felt that within himself, like that was what was coming out of him. That was what he was sharing in his music, because he felt it so deeply, so intensely. That electrical current within him. Uranus, again, it's the great awakener. It's the planet that is here to bring like sudden changes, awakenings, breakthrough moments in its highest expression. But in its lowest expression, it can be very like erratic and like disorganized, or maybe things all over the place, or a ton of different thoughts moving through, and not having the ability to fully process it, or to understand, you know, what these flashes or these downloads of information were. And then having Pluto on his ascendant, and I have this placement as well, so I understand a little bit more like what that could feel like, you know, by living with that energy. And so with Pluto on your ascendant, Pluto's the planet of death. It's the planet of death and transformation and intensity and evolution, and it rules our shadow self. It rules all the dark, the heaviness of the world, the shit that we don't want to look at. And so that's sitting right on his soul, right on his ascendant. So it's like maybe a constant feeling of heaviness to a certain degree, but needing to rise above the self-destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors that can come with Pluto. You know, the Plutonian, the Scorpio energy, it can go, yeah, it can go very deep and very dark if it's not willing to look at all of the shadow aspects of the self, if it's not willing to like to really face the things that it's afraid of, or to you know, it's just like constant soul work if you have Pluto sitting on your ascendant, because your ascendant is your soul and Pluto is the planet of transformation, of evolution at all costs. And so having that energy sitting on his ascendant, and then it's opposing all of the Pisces energy. So it's like being pulled in two different directions. The Virgo energy that wants structure, order, things to be a certain way. You know, this can point to his fascination with anatomy. Like he would call, I watched an interview where he was talking about, he went into some like medical store and he bought like all different types of like body parts, like plastic body parts. And then that would be used like in his albums and different things like that, or in music videos. In Virgo rules like our physical anatomy. So having a fascination and interest with the body and with how the body works. This part of his chart, like in itself is contradictory, because Virgo wants order, and in Uranus there is no order, and then Pluto there is like taking him into the underworld a little bit, like evolution at all costs, needing to face your shadow self, needing to do the soul work, like death and rebirth over and over and over again. And so, and then let's come to the Pisces energy now. And so the Pisces energy can be, that in itself can be very prone to escapism and addictions. And it can be hard for the Piscean people, for people with strong Pisces energy in their chart, a strong, like a heavy 12th house, a lot of planets in their 12th house, a lot of aspects to Neptune. It can be hard for these people to understand the difference between what's real and what's an illusion. Like, what is reality? Because they're so fucking connected to the other realms. They're like, and having so much water, it's like a deep understanding that there's so much more going on here than what we can see in our everyday world. And Pisces has a deep understanding of that, a deep connection at its high expression, a deep connection to the other realms, to source, to God, and being able to like see everything through that lens. But the low expression is being so sensitive and feeling everything so deeply that they don't know like what's theirs and what's other people's. They don't know where they stop and where other people begin. And so I would imagine, just, you know, and maybe as a young child, I haven't dived too deep into what his childhood was like, but I would imagine just being, you know, a psychic sponge, like absorbing all of the energy around him and not knowing what to do with it, not knowing how to process it or how to release it. Like, there's very little any other element in his chart. There's very little earth energy. That was his north node, was in the sign of Taurus. So he was trying to go in the direction. Your north node is what you're aiming for, what you're trying to embrace in this lifetime. It was in the sign of Taurus. So that was the goal, to get to this place of like deep inner stability and security, and to be okay within himself despite what's going on around him, to find that stability, to build that for yourself, to have a solid foundation. And the south node was in Scorpio. So coming from a past of, again, not only coming in with so much water in his chart, but coming in like having a past life, or his past life energy being in the sign of Scorpio. Let me see what degree it was at. 10 degrees. I just want to see where Neptune. Okay, so 24 degrees. Mars is at 1 degree. Okay, so it's kind of in the middle of those. I wanted to make sure it wasn't conjunct either of these planets. But yeah, so his south node being in Scorpio, coming from a past life energy of intensity, of maybe like suicidal thoughts or not wanting to be here, a past life of possible, heaviness, trauma, abuse, dealing with the darker parts of the world. That's the Scorpio energy. So not only coming in with so much water in this lifetime and having such a strong like sensitivity, intuition, just being like wide open to the energy around him, but also, yeah, coming in with a past life imprint of I don't want to say like maybe he I don't know if he's committed suicide in other lifetimes, but it just could indicate like many lifetimes of having to deal with the shadow side of things, having to deal with the darker parts of reality. Okay, and then let's come over here to his moon, and he's got Jupiter in Cancer as well. So with the moon in Cancer, and I have this placement too, moon in Cancer, the moon loves to be in Cancer because that's its natural home. The Cancer is associated with the moon. The moon is our feeling body. It's our ability to process our emotions. It's how we move through our emotions, how we how we express what's going on for us internally. And so with the moon in Cancer, again, just another signature in his chart that points to being very sensitive and feeling things so deeply, and it being hard to understand what to do with those feelings. I mean, the high expression of all this energy is really being able to, and I think he occupied that space for a long time. And there's a few things that are coming through. So I do past life regression work, hypnosis, and through this way of viewing the world, like we can view this as that his soul, chose to come in with this energy. His soul chose to have these experiences, and through the hypnosis that I've studied under Dolores Cannon teaches this way of thinking, and because of all the people that she's regressed and the information that she's gathered through regressing like hundreds, thousands of people, is that his soul chose this experience. Like his soul chose to come in with this energy, and it also chose when it was going to leave or how it was going to leave. And so, I read people writing comments like, oh yeah, I wish he was still here. I wish he was, you were still with us, or all of that. And yeah, of course we all probably wish that he was still here creating music or whatever, just being here for our own selfish reasons, because we want him to be here, but he didn't want to be here anymore, right? I mean, unless if it wasn't really a suicide, and then that's a whole nother story. But assuming that it was a suicide and that he wrote the suicide note, that it was too much. And so it was too much for his soul to handle, feeling things so deeply. And I don't blame him. Like his whole chart is water. I would imagine, that he just, it's really even hard to imagine, unless if you have that much water in your chart, you can't really understand what somebody else is going through, or their capacity to feel all of the energy around them. So, okay, so I was going to share about the high expression of having all of this water energy, and I think what he did so beautifully, like why he is still so like very much alive in our hearts and celebrated and remembered, and just the impact that he left on the world, is because he was able to put to words what so many people feel, just like the angst of being alive, of being a human. Like the Pisces energy is again, it's so connected to the other realms. It knows that there's so much more going on here, that there's so much more happening than just what we see in our current reality. And Pisces is the completion of a cycle. It's the last sign in the zodiac. So it's a bringing together all of the signs that came before it, all of the previous energy, and a returning to the oneness that we come from. So it represents, it's a like death. It's an ending. It's a completion. So he's, probably his soul has been through this human experience many times, and he's fucking tired. He was tired of it. Like Pluto in your 12th house. The house that Pluto's in represents the evolution of your soul. So he was also a Piscean soul. Piscean soul, Pisces sun, Mercury in Pisces, Venus, Saturn. You know, Saturn being in Pisces, Saturn is the planet of your life lesson. So it's what you came to learn in this lifetime. So that was his life lesson, to learn how to handle the water, to work with his intuition, to trust the messages that come through to him, to, you know, and it's in the 7th house of relationships. So it's also a conversation about how he would show up, and how he, eh, would need to like maintain healthy boundaries in relationships. And Pisces, that's not their strong suit. Water in general, that's not their strong suit, is having boundaries, because again, it's hard for them to decipher between where their energy stops and where other people's begins. And they're so sensitive. They're so aware of how other people are feeling and how other people are receiving what it is that they're saying, that it can be really hard for them to draw the line when they feel like they're hurting somebody else, because they feel that too. Like they feel that pain, because they know that we're all connected. So they don't want to hurt others, and they also don't want to hurt themselves. And then it's just like this weird thing of like, yeah, where does that leave space for you in the world, and for you to take care of yourself? So, okay, to come back to what I was saying about him being able to put words to what we're all feeling. I think, you know, we experience that in his music, like it not necessarily making a lot of sense, the lyrics, you know, and some of the songs, like it doesn't really make a ton of sense. It's just the feeling. We're able to feel what it is that was going on for him. And I think that touches a very deep part of all of us on some level, or the people that were affected by his music, which I would imagine is most people. Yeah, his capacity to channel what he was feeling, and to put words to name the nameless, to put words to a wordless energy that is only something that you feel internally. So a mix match of words that he's putting together, and we're feeling what it is that he is going through, or what he's experiencing. And yeah, and that touches a deep part in all of us, because I think at different points in time, we move through those periods of like, why are we here? Like, what the fuck is the point of all of this? Like, shit's heavy, it's hard. Why am I here on earth? What am I doing? Like, what's the point of moving through this human experience? And so, yeah, and especially it's associated a lot with what, like teenage, like angsty, just like fuck everything, not wanting to be here, because they feel things too deeply, because they don't know how to move through their emotional body, because we don't know how to like protect ourselves, or to have strong boundaries or barriers, and to really like cultivate that earthy, grounded stableness within ourselves, so that we can, you know, have a place for the water to go. We can ground the water, and we can feel safe and secure here on earth. So yeah, so I really don't I don't blame people. It's an interesting topic, suicide, and people taking their lives, not wanting to be here anymore. And I've had this conversation with some different people that have, yeah, different points of view, which is always interesting to explore for me, because yeah, lots of air. I like to ask these questions. And so I feel that, yeah, if people don't want to be here, then that's fine. Then they don't have to be here. I think that we can all we can support each other more. We can come together more as a community. You know, maybe if the people that don't want to be here, the people that that ended their life, maybe they just didn't have the right type of support, and the right type of community, and the right, you know, the groups of people that they could go to, where they could safely share what's going on for them. And especially for men, right? It's like you have to seek out these safe spaces. You have to seek out these safe containers where you can be witnessed. Because for men, that's especially, you know, when was he born? This was a long time ago. I think, I forget the year that he died in, but I know he was, maybe it was like 1990, 91. And so especially at that time, yeah, there weren't so many like men's circles and men's groups for men to go to and to cry and to express their emotions. It was more like, push that shit down, like hold it back. And there's no space for that here. If you're, yeah, men that are feeling things intensely, like handle that on your own. There's no safe space to come to talk about it. And so, yeah, times are changing now. And I think that we do have more support, and more things like that available to us, where we can go and we can connect with other people and we can share what's going on for us. So maybe for the people that have committed suicide, that have, ended their lives, maybe if they had the right type of support or help or community to really see them and to witness them, then maybe it would be different. Or, maybe we can contribute to changing that moving forward by just honoring our own emotions and being comfortable sharing that, being comfortable expressing what's going on for us, and connecting with other people that are moving through similar things, and just speaking to it, right? Because I think it causes problems when it's just left in the dark. And that's, South Node in Scorpio, that's what he's moving from, like moving away from what he's done in other lifetimes, like maybe, and then Pluto on his ascendant, heavy karmic signatures. So yeah, maybe in other lifetimes, like falling into the darker side of things, and yeah, and being consumed by it. So yeah, I think we need to speak to what's going on for us more. We need to honor our emotions. We need to allow ourselves to be seen, like being vulnerable and being sensitive, and knowing that there's so much power and potency to being so compassionate and so empathetic, but also understanding that comes with feeling a lot of shit that you don't understand. It comes with feeling the heaviness of the world and not knowing what to do with it, or not knowing like that if it's yours or if it's just the person that you're sitting next to, like not knowing where it comes from, and needing to have different practices where we can move through that in a healthy way, right? Like, why are we not teaching this in school? Like that should be a class. How do you process and handle your emotions? Like, fuck, I don't want to say like social studies, or like, I don't know, random, even some, I don't know, types of math or whatever. Like, we need these practical skills to handle real life things. And so I don't know how long we've been going here. I'm just talking. Yeah, and so to bring it all together, to close out this video here, so I want to point out as well that he does have, I've shared how much water he has in his chart, but he has a grand trine in water. These blue lines, which generally, blue lines are generally a harmonious aspect, but it doesn't always show up that way. Blue lines in a grand trine in general is like a God-given gift, but we don't always use it, or we don't always know what to do with it, or with it, in this case in particular, with it being in water, it was just so much. It was just too much to handle in some ways, like maybe for him processing his emotions for himself, but then we can see his grand trine being expressed through his music. So it's being connected, and I'll talk more about that, but it's being connected with, I just want to see the exact degree. Neptune is at 24 degrees, Jupiter is at 25 degrees, and Venus is at 26 degrees. Yeah, so it's a very close grand trine, this triangle here, connecting all of the water elements, supporting, harmonious, like, and this represents just having a gift at being, you know, the water energy, the flow state, being able to put words to the wordless, to speak to things that we're all feeling, to tap into his intuition, his creative abilities, his, you know, ability to write lyrics, to write poetry, and to put music to it. Yeah, to play music, to, like, so multifaceted. But just the abundance of water in his chart and the lack of all other elements, it can be hard. It can be hard to be here on earth. It can be hard to ground that energy. You can feel like you're just like spinning out, and you're just swirling around in water, in emotions, in sensitivity to anything. You know, it's pretty amazing that he, like, being on stage and being around so many people, and that he was able to do that. And then being like, listening to him speak in interviews, and just hearing him talk like normal conversations with other people, it's so different than like the persona he was when he was on stage. Like, when you listen to him talk, I feel like you can really hear his sensitivity, his, like, his softness, his gentleness, his empathy, his compassion, his ability to feel other people's energy. Like, when he's being interviewed, him speaking in a way where he's really feeling the other person, and just putting to words what's going on for him in a way that isn't harming like the other person, that's almost very gentle, and they're able to receive it really nicely. I have heard people talk about it in different interviews, that sometimes he can be like rude or not answering questions. And so I think if people like skirt around emotions or talking about things that are important, I don't think he really enjoyed like the superficial small talk, like chit chat kind of thing. But I think people that were willing to go deep with him, and to connect with him, and to, you know, maybe be in a place where words weren't needed, and you're just like feeling each other's energy, that's where water really thrives and really feels supported and held and understood, is when they can connect with other people that that communicate in the same way or process things in the same way. And also being around strong earth energy, because it's grounding, and it's stable, it's solid, it flows beautifully, it comes together beautifully with the water element. So so the only earth that he had in his chart was Pluto and Uranus on the ascendant, in Virgo, the Virgo ascendant, with Pluto and Uranus there in Virgo. And Virgo can be, you know, every sign has a high road and a low road, right? And Virgo can be the perfectionist, the Virgo energy. So his rising sign, his soul trying to rise into this high expression of the Virgo energy. But yeah, the low road for that, it can be very hard on themselves. They can be very critical. They can feel like they're never doing enough. They've never gotten it quite right. They're not quite perfect enough. You know, celebrities with a lot of Virgo energy, like Michael Jackson was a Virgo, right? I forget his moon sign, but people that are always finding something wrong with themselves, like needing to fix something, because Virgos are like the fixers of the zodiac. They're really good at putting things together and creating like order and structure, and like taking all the broken pieces of, you know, something, and fixing it and putting it back together. But that can be harmful when it's used on the self, when they feel like there's something wrong with themselves, they need to change something or fix something, maybe like physically on their body, or internally, like they're just or with in regards to what it is that they're producing or they're creating in the world, like they haven't gotten it quite right. They don't know quite enough yet. There's a little bit more that they need before they're perfect. They can, you know, just be in that search for perfectionism. So yeah, maybe more earth energy could have been helpful, just a distribution of the elements. But again, like, yeah, his soul, you know, viewing it from the soul's perspective, from the highest perspective, like him choosing to come in, like, okay, I'm going to choose to come in with so much fucking water that I can just handle it, like just enough, just barely handle it long enough to change the world, right? Like I can cry, because like when I'm going through it, I love to listen to Nirvana. Like when I'm feeling things and just like fucking angry, whatever, like angsty, like fuck everything. That's I want to listen to music like that, or I'll listen to Nirvana, and it's just like it's comforting because it's like a safe space for your emotions to come out when you don't really know what they are. Maybe you have Pisces energy and you don't know whose shit you've absorbed today, and so just being able to release it, you know, in some kind of way, listening to music that puts words to what it is that's going on for you, even though the words don't really make sense. It's like a combination of words that allow you to like to release that energy. So yeah, viewing it from the soul's perspective, like, okay, I'm gonna come in with so much water that I'm so fucking sensitive to everything, and I have such an immense like imagination and creativity, and yeah, the music videos, the way that he played the guitar, just like the whole, all of it. Yeah, just enough water to survive for whatever period of time to impact the world so intensely. Like he only had to be here for those that, you know, number of years, and then who knows what the arrangement is next. Your soul goes back and connects with your the spiritual team, with the advisors on the other side. Like, okay, let's evaluate in a non-judgmental way at all. Like, okay, this is what happened on Earth. All right, now the next mission is this, or, you know, your soul signs up for it, agrees to what it has to do, I feel. So then the soul stays there in that for however long it needs. It's cleansed, it's washed clean, it, you know, understands the lessons and the karma and all that it went through on Earth when it's up in that space, when it's left the earthly realm, and then it comes back when it's time. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good for now. Yeah, if you've made it with me till the end, thanks for being here. I hope that that this was enlightening and helpful in some way, and just better understanding the energy that he was living with. Or, you know, I speak to having a lot of water often because I have a lot in my chart, and I love to talk about that energy. So maybe if you have strong water in your chart, or if your sun, moon, or rising isn't in water, but you still have like this immense sensitivity, you know, sometimes we can come in with no planets in water because you couldn't handle anymore. Like you already have so much water within you that maybe you didn't need any planets in water. So it can show up in so many different ways. You don't necessarily have to have planets in the water sign to be very sensitive to the energy around you, or to be very intuitive. That's just one way that it can show up. So that's all right. I hope that you enjoyed this, and yeah, thanks for being here. Happy Pisces season. Kurt Cobain's birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday to him. I hope that he enjoys this video, and yeah, lots of love to everybody. All right.